Hey there, fellow gardeners! Welcome back to Ruth Haven Grounds. Today I'm excited to share one of my absolute favorite container gardening projects, growing ginger. Now I know what you're thinking, isn't ginger one of those tropical plants that needs a massive garden plot? Actually no, ginger thrives beautifully in containers, and I'm going to walk you through exactly how to grow it successfully, and harvest those gorgeous aromatic rhizomes that'll make your homegrown stir-fries and teas absolutely sing. Before we dive into the how-to, let me tell you why containers are actually ideal for ginger cultivation. Ginger naturally grows in the understory of tropical forests, which means it appreciates filtered light and well-draining soil, two things we can perfectly control in containers. Plus, growing ginger in pots means you can move it around to follow the sun, bring it indoors when temperatures drop, and most importantly, you have complete control over the soil quality. Trust me, once you see those lush green shoots emerging from your pot, you'll be hooked on container ginger growing just like I am. Let's start with the foundation of success, your container. Ginger has a shallow root system that spreads horizontally rather than growing deep, so forget those tall, narrow pots. What you need is a wide, shallow container. I recommend going for something that's at least 12 to 14 inches in diameter and about 12 inches deep. Drainage is absolutely critical here. Ginger loves moisture but absolutely hates sitting in waterlogged soil, which can quickly lead to rot. Make sure your chosen container has multiple drainage holes at the bottom. If you've fallen in love with a decorative pot that lacks drainage, drill some holes yourself, or use it as a cache pot with a properly draining inner container. I've learned this lesson the hard way, friends, and lost some beautiful ginger starts to soggy soil. Material-wise, I've had success with both plastic and terracotta pots. Plastic retains moisture better, which is helpful in hot, dry climates, while terracotta breathes more and can prevent overwatering. Choose based on your climate and how attentive you are to watering schedules. Here's where things get exciting. Head to your local grocery store or farmer's market and pick up some fresh ginger root. Look for plump, firm rhizomes with visible growth buds or eyes. Those little bumpy protrusions that look like potato eyes. The fresher and more organic, the better, as some conventional ginger is treated with growth inhibitors. Alright, before planting, I always soak my ginger rhizomes in water overnight. You know, this really helps wake them up from dormancy and gives them a head start. If your ginger piece has multiple eyes, you can actually cut it into sections, making sure each piece has at least 1 or 2 eyes. Let these cut pieces dry for a day or two to form a protective callus over the cut surface. This simple step prevents rot and disease. Now, let's talk about soil, because this is where many gardeners struggle with ginger. Standard potting soil alone is just too dense for ginger's needs. What you want is a rich, loose, well-draining mix that holds moisture without becoming compacted. My go-to recipe combines equal parts quality potting soil, compost, and perlite or coarse sand. This creates that perfect balance of nutrition, moisture retention, and drainage that ginger craves. If you want to take it up a notch, add a handful of worm castings to your mix. Ginger is a moderate feeder, and worm castings provide slow-release nutrients that'll keep your plants happy throughout the growing season. Make sure your soil pH is slightly acidic to neutral, somewhere between 6.0 and 6.8, which is ideal for ginger growth. Alright, so first you'll want to fill your container with your prepared soil mix, leaving about 2 inches from the rim. Next, go ahead and place your ginger rhizomes on the soil surface with the eyes pointing upward. This is crucial. Those eyes are where your new shoots will emerge, so you definitely want them facing up. Now, just press the rhizomes gently into the soil and cover them with about 1 to 2 inches of your soil mix. Don't bury them too deeply. Ginger really prefers to be planted relatively shallow. After you've finished planting, water thoroughly until water drains from the bottom holes, then place your container in a warm location. Ginger needs warmth to break dormancy and begin growing, so aim for temperatures between 75 and 85 degrees Fahrenheit. A warm spot indoors or a sheltered outdoor location works perfectly for this. Here's something that surprises a lot of gardeners. Ginger doesn't want full blazing sun. Remember, it evolved under the forest canopy. What it really loves is bright filtered light or partial shade. I've found that morning sun with afternoon shade works beautifully, or a location that gets dappled light throughout the day. So, if you're growing indoors, you'll want to place your container near an east or west-facing window. This way, it'll get gentle light without those harsh afternoon rays. During the hottest part of summer, even outdoor ginger appreciates a bit of shade cloth protection. You see, too much direct sun will scorch those beautiful leaves and stress the plant, reducing your ultimate harvest. Consistent moisture is really the secret to lush ginger growth and substantial rhizome development. During the active growing season, which is spring through early fall, you'll want to keep the soil consistently moist but never soggy. I usually check my containers daily by sticking my finger about an inch into the soil. If it feels dry, then it's definitely time to water. Ginger just loves humidity, so if you're in a dry climate, consider misting the foliage regularly, or placing the container on a pebble tray filled with water. This creates a humid microclimate around your plant that mimics its native tropical environment. As fall approaches and growth naturally slows, you'll want to gradually reduce watering to prepare the plant for harvest. To get that truly impressive harvest we're aiming for, your ginger needs regular feeding. Once your plants are actively growing and you see shoots emerging, begin feeding every 2 to 3 weeks with a balanced liquid fertilizer diluted to half strength. I prefer organic options like fish emulsion or seaweed extract, which provide trace minerals along with major nutrients. During peak growing season in midsummer, you can switch to a fertilizer slightly higher in phosphorus to encourage robust rhizome development underground. That's where your harvest is forming after all. Compost tea is another fantastic option that I make regularly. It's gentle, effective, and adds beneficial microbes to your soil ecosystem. Here's where patience becomes a virtue. Ginger takes 8 to 10 months from planting to reach harvest maturity. Yes, it's a long-term commitment, but the reward is absolutely worth it. You can actually harvest baby ginger after about 4 months if you want that tender, mild flavor, but for maximum yield and that characteristic spicy punch, wait the full growing season. You'll know harvest time is approaching when the leaves begin to yellow and die back in fall. This is the plant's natural signal that it's putting all its energy into the rhizomes. Once the foliage has mostly died back, stop watering and let the soil dry out for about a week. Then comes the fun part. Carefully tip out your container and discover the treasure you've grown. Here's my favorite part about growing ginger. It multiplies itself. When you harvest, save some of the best rhizomes with prominent eyes for replanting. You can immediately start another container, or if you're in a climate with cold winters, store these in barely moist sand in a cool location until spring arrives again. Each year, you can expand your ginger garden exponentially, sharing with friends and always having fresh ginger on hand. Growing ginger in containers has become one of my most rewarding gardening adventures here at Ruthaven Grounds, and I know it can be for you too. The sight of those tropical-looking shoots emerging, the fragrance when you brush against the foliage, and finally unearthing those golden rhizomes, it's pure gardening magic. If you found this guide helpful, please subscribe to Ruthaven Grounds for more practical container gardening tips and tricks. Share this with your fellow gardeners who might want to try something new this season. Drop a comment below telling me about your ginger growing experiences or questions. I love hearing from this amazing gardening community. Now get out there and start growing some ginger.